Hogwarts Legacy releases in literally about a week from now. Now, I say a week from now, but there is a good chance you're watching this very close to the release of Hogwarts Legacy, and that is absolutely fine, since this video definitely still applies, no matter where in the time you are between the release of Hogwarts Legacy, or even after the release of Hogwarts Legacy, to be honest. But this video will be going over how to prepare for Hogwarts Legacy. We'll be going over everything you need to know about downloading Hogwarts Legacy, everything you're going to need for Hogwarts Legacy, and yeah, everything in order to prepare for Hogwarts Legacy, so that when the game does release, you're able to play the game well and you're able to have the best time possible. And yeah, so this will be a video going over how to prepare for Hogwarts Legacy. So first of all, obviously if you have the deluxe edition of the game, it will release on the 7th of February due to the 72-hour early access, the 3 days early access that you do get with the deluxe edition, and this applies to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S and PC. We don't really know yet for the older consoles on Nintendo Switch, since they have later release dates with April 4th and July 25th. But yeah, either way, if you have a next generation console or PC and you've got the deluxe edition, then on the 7th of February you'll get access to the game. Then with the standard edition you'll get access on the 10th of February. And of course those are for the pre-orders. If you were to just buy the game later down the line, you can buy the deluxe edition or the standard edition at any point later down the line, and to be honest, this video will still apply for that. Now this video will be separated into two parts. First of all, we're going to go over how to prepare for the game when you have a PC, and then we'll look at how to prepare for the game if you have a console. We'll be using a PlayStation 5, but it will still be the exact same if you have an Xbox Series X or S, obviously, but the UI is a little bit different since you're on a different console. But we're going to start with PC and how to prepare for the game over there. Now, when it comes to PC, there are two ways you can purchase the game, or well, there are two launchers you can purchase the game on, but there's many ways you can purchase the game. Those two launchers are Steam and the Epic Games launcher, and then of course when it comes to purchasing the game, you can purchase it on those two launchers, or you could use a key website to get it at a slightly cheaper price if that's something you are willing to do. Obviously, you're not getting all of the Steam bonuses or anything like that for purchasing the game on Steam, but obviously you're getting it at a bit of a cheaper price, and the site I do recommend for that is cdkeys.com. It's a very good site and very, very trustworthy. You can check its Trustpilot and everything like that. I use it all the time and it is great, and yeah, that's something I'll link in the description. And I have actually done a video going over the cheapest way to purchase Hogwarts Legacy on every single platform. That even includes Nintendo Switch and the older consoles, the next generation consoles and PC. It's basically the cheapest way to purchase the game on every single platform. At least that video will be in the description, or you can click it on the screen now. But before you play Hogwarts Legacy on PC, there's a few things I recommend that you do. Now, first of all, you're going to want to make sure that your GPU drivers are up to date. There is a good chance that just before the release or slightly after the release, there will be a new driver update dedicated to Hogwarts Legacy. This will most likely be the case for the Nvidia cards, but it's also pretty likely to happen for the AMD cards as well. So you might be watching this and there isn't a dedicated Hogwarts Legacy graphical update or, driver update, but I would still recommend having the latest drivers installed, as that's going to guarantee you're getting the best performance possible, unless there's some sort of severe issue. But if there was, then you would know about that definitely, and then you wouldn't be upgrading to the latest one, or at least it wouldn't even be available if there was a severe issue with it. But yeah, either way, I would definitely download the latest drivers for your GPU. You're also going to want to guarantee that you do make those PC requirements. Of course, it might be a bit late to go ahead and upgrade your PC, but just make sure that you are meeting those PC requirements, or at least you've got your expectations set, so you know sort of what to expect when you play the game. Now, I have already done a video actually going over the PC requirements and a complete analysis of those PC requirements. A link to that video, once again, is on the screen now, or there is a link in the description as well. So next up, you're going to want to decide whether you want to play the game on keyboard and mouse or controller. Now, this might be something that you decide when you actually go ahead and play the game, since you're not going to know how each of them feel until you play the game, if that makes sense. But you want to make sure that you've got a controller ready, if you have a controller that is, and then you want to make sure obviously your keyboard and mouse are ready to go. Of course, you may want to use a controller, and you may always use a controller even though you play on a PC. Some people do that. I tend to use a controller for a fair few games on PC, and yeah, so you're going to want to make sure that you've got your controller ready. Now, if you're playing the game on Steam, there's a couple things you can do to configure your controller. So to show you this, we're going to jump over to Steam right now. So here we are over on Steam, and now of course we're looking at focusing on the controller side of things here. So if you do want to use a controller for Hogwarts Legacy, then what you want to do is go over to Steam, then settings, and then you're going to want to go down to controller. Then you're going to want to hit general controller settings. This is going to open up Steam in the big picture mode. I have no idea why it does it this way. I suppose maybe it just displays it in an easier way, but what you're going to want to do is hit PlayStation configuration support or Xbox configuration support, depending on what you're going to be using. And then you want to make sure, yeah, that you've got those ticked, and this means that when you do plug in your controller, then it will detect it as either a PlayStation or Xbox, depending on which one that you do select. And I'm going to give you an example of that now. So I have connected a DualShock 4 controller, and as you can see here, we are able to use the controller now, and as you can see here, we are able to actually change a few things when it comes to the controller. We can change the light on the controller, we're able to change the brightness and the saturation of the color light, and we're also able to choose if we want rumble on or off, and we can actually change the name of the controller as well. And that's a few things that you get to do when it comes to the controller, along with obviously if you've got a bit of minor drift with your controller, then you're able to adjust that and adjust the dead zones here, which is something pretty cool. You actually don't get to always do that on the consoles, so it's nice to be able to have this as an option here. So yeah, you get to configure everything there, and you're able to basically go ahead and make sure that your controller is ready to use by the time that you do play Hogwarts Legacy. This is just something I recommend if you plan on using a controller on Hogwarts Legacy upon release. So there you go, if you plan on using a controller through Steam, then that's what I recommend doing for when it comes to playing Hogwarts Legacy and of course using a controller. But now we're going to focus on the storage side of things. Now when it comes to the storage size for Hogwarts Legacy, it says it's going to take up 85 gigabytes. Now obviously that could change slightly, that's just on the PC requirements page. We do have an exact number for PlayStation, but unfortunately when it comes to PC we don't have an exact number yet. Now since it does say 85 gigabytes, I would say that you want to have at least 100 to 150 gigabytes of free storage on your PC, or at least on one of your storage devices that you plan on installing Hogwarts Legacy on, which actually brings us on to another point of that I recommend having it on an SSD, as it mentions in the PC requirements. Of course, I recommend that with anything really when it comes to an SSD. An SSD is always the better option since it is of course faster. But of course at the same time, if you do want to use a hard drive, then you can of course use a hard drive. It recommends an SSD for the higher PC requirements on the PC requirements page, but I don't think that that is really necessary at all. When it comes down to it, I would just go for what has more storage, to be honest. If your hard drive has way more storage than your SSD, then I'll probably go for that. But yeah, the choice there really is yours. I would just say that make sure you have at least 100 to 150 gigabytes free on that storage device when it does come to downloading Hogwarts Legacy. It is worth noting that when it does come to pre-downloading the game for the pre-orders, if you have the deluxe edition, you can pre-download the game on the 5th of February, and if you have the standard edition, then on the 8th of February you can pre-download the game, ready to be played 2 days later. But that is really it for PC. To be honest, at the end of the day, just make sure your PC is working and you'll be alright. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know when it comes to preparing for Hogwarts Legacy on PC. So now let's move over to the consoles, but we'll actually focus on PlayStation 5, although this will all still apply to Xbox Series X and S, and you'll be able to follow along just fine. So over on console, there's not really as much that you need to do, to be honest. The main thing is just making sure that you have enough storage. Of course, there are a few other little things which we'll get onto afterwards, but first we'll just focus on the storage side of things. It has been confirmed that Hogwarts Legacy is 79.543 gigabytes on PlayStation 5. Unfortunately for the Xbox side of things, we don't have an exact number, but I would imagine it's anywhere in between that, to be honest. I would say, you know, maximum 10 gigabytes more or less either way. I would say, yeah, you know, around 80 gigabytes is what you will need. So I would say you need about 100 gigabytes of free storage on your console. With these next generation consoles, you can fill up the storage quite high, so I wouldn't say you need as much free storage compared to PC. I would say about 100 gigabytes will be absolutely fine, as that will also set aside some storage for future updates as well, since there's a good chance there'll be a day one patch or something like that. Now, if you do have either a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X and S with extended storage that supports the next generation games, then you're going to want to choose whether you want to install it onto that or onto your main console storage. The choice there really is yours, since there will be no real difference in performance. Of course, if you are having extended storage which doesn't support the next generation games, then you won't be able to download this on there anyway. So yeah, there'll be no difference in performance. The choice there really is yours. It's mainly just which one has more storage available. Then you're also going to want to make sure that you have your PlayStation 5 controller all configured and ready to go. You want to make sure that you've got the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers set to the way that you want them to feel. You might not like having them on at all, so you might turn it off. You might prefer having slight resistance from the triggers, so you can configure it to that. Or you might like having the full adaptive trigger experience, then you can obviously turn that on. And finally, you just want to make sure that your display settings are all configured correctly. You want to make sure that you're on the right resolution, and you want to make sure you've got everything like ALLM and the variable refresh rates enabled if that's something that you do use. So yeah, generally just making sure that you've got enough storage and all of your settings are configured to the way that you want them to be by the time that Hogwarts Legacy does release. So there we go, that was a complete guide on how to prepare for Hogwarts Legacy. We're getting so close to release now, and you may be watching this after release, and to be honest, this will all still apply. Now, whilst we are on the topic of consoles, if you are interested in seeing some specific console info about the game, then a link to that video is on the screen now. It goes over the different performance modes that will be available on the next generation consoles. So if you're interested in hearing about that, then go and join me over there.